I'm an alternative potting material specialist, so all these plants are grown in containers. My research, my background is in what is in that container, but there's not a ton of nurseries in the state, and there wasn't a ton of interest in what I was doing. I worked on that for about 5 years, and so I spent some time trying to decide what is next and what's most valuable. What can I do that will actually make a difference for the people that are in my communities? And that's sort of where I started to land on this social media marketing work. And I knew I didn't have the right skill set. So I literally looked through the university website and cold called on these two ladies. This is Dr. Hikaru Peterson and Laurie Baker. And Hikaru knows the money piece with agricultural economics, and Laurie knows the words piece with agricultural communication. And so they both fortunately said yes. And we put together a pilot study and have been working together ever since. And we were all at Kansas State at the time. Now Hikaru is at the University of Minnesota and Laurie is at the University of Florida. But we've been doing this distance work with Zoom ever since Hikaru left for Minnesota. Goodness, it's been a while. So when we sort of made this transition to doing lots more Zoom meetings, this is a way I've been working for a while. So it's been a easy transition for me from that perspective. And then Anissa, she was our graduate student and our intern. And then she actually works for Laurie at the University of Florida, but she's a remote worker and she lives now down near Pittsburgh. So if you've ever been down there and you've heard of the, those chicken Annies, those chicken places, her family owns one of those. So she helps at the restaurant sometimes too. So Anissa is in Kansas, but she's a University of Florida employee and she's part of our team. She helps us get lots of stuff done too. So we're all about, as the Center for Rural Enterprise Engagement, helping rural enterprise businesses engage. So they don't have to be rural. We have a lot of urban folks too, and I think everybody can benefit from what we're learning. But our goal is to help those of you who want to live in rural communities to stay in your rural communities and to be successful and to continue making money and providing services. So that's kind of our goal. We're transdisciplinary, multi-institutional, we're a thought center. So it's not like we have a building or something anywhere. We're all in different places, but we generate and share knowledge about these areas. So we all, among the three of us, we have appointments in research, teaching, and extension. I have the highest extension appointment at 75%. So I don't really work a lot with students other than graduate students on occasion, but we really complement each other nicely. So again, our mission is to enable rural and agriculture-based businesses to flourish in these ever-changing environments while fostering positive changes to rural livelihood. So we want you to stay there and enjoy what you're doing. So on to our topic today. How do you set up an online shop in a hurry? I think a lot of people sort of struggled with this right there in the beginning. Maybe some of you have found a platform and a setup that works for you and you're not really interested in changing, or you want to know how you can tweak it to maybe make it a little bit better. Or maybe you can take some time, perhaps before we might potentially be in another situation where we're all needing to be in shelter at home orders. I know everything is up in the air. Nobody has a crystal ball or knows for sure where we're going with this, but there has been a lot of talk about a little bit of freedom now, and then we might be back in the situation later. So whether you are preparing for that situation so you can still continue to run your business if we get in those kind of situations again, or if it's more of a long-term part of your business and how you want to expand, will help you think through some of those things. So there's kind of 3 steps today. There's a bit about finding your customers, understanding where they are and where you can find them, and where it's best to set up your shop, because that can be different depending on how you interact with your customers. So we'll talk about that. And then there's a good bit about the different platforms and the payment choices that you can think through. There's pros and cons to each of them. There's no right or wrong, and there's a lot of tools. And I will tell you, I don't cover all of them. There's actually an entire suite of resources for those people who are selling food products like fresh meat or fresh vegetables that are really kind of tailored to that industry. And I can share some resources with you about that later. When we go through that, there are a lot of links, a lot of information. You may feel like you want to take a lot of notes and get all the information. And guess what? We've already done that. So it's on our website, which is ruralengagement.org/touchless transactions, or you can just go to rural engagement. There's a button at the top that'll take you there. So all of this is written, all of it is linked. So just listen and think through what might work for you. And then you can go back to the resource and click through and find all of those platforms that we'll cover. And then the last little bit we'll talk about is customer concerns. So especially in the time of a global pandemic, you need to be thinking about what your customers are expecting in terms of safety and guidelines, and what you're able to offer and how you can get there. So we will jump into analyzing your audience and understanding where they are and where they're coming from and how you might speak to them. So there's some things to know about demographics of your stakeholder audiences. And actually, our team has been working on one of the federal grant proposals for rapid response to COVID-19. We just submitted it yesterday. It's been a busy couple of weeks. And one of my jobs was to gather some demographics about the regions that we were at. And if you don't know what your area of, just in general, what their demographics are, you can look on the census website. It's the American Fact Finder. It's censuses. They have a ton of databases. You can get a little overwhelmed, but there's like a really simple one that can give you all of the county level data for population, for race and ethnicity, for education level, for income level. So if you're trying to understand as a baseline who your audience is and who your people that you might be selling to are, that's a great place to start. So you know what some of their concerns might be. And for example, if you have an education level where most people are college educated, that means that you can communicate at a higher level, use more complex terminology. If on the flip side of that, you have a lot of people who maybe didn't finish high school or only finished high school, your language may need to be a little bit simpler. So that helps you understand who, you know, how to speak to people so they can follow what you're trying to share with them. If they have an agricultural background, you can use terms related to agriculture. We were just talking earlier, Nancy, we were talking about this picture behind me in horticulture and how in food production, this structure here is called a hoop house. I'm sorry, it's called a high tunnel. In my field, in nursery crop production, it's called a hoop house. They're the same thing. It's the same structure. They're just a little bit slightly different growing system. And you know what? It's all jargon. And sometimes in agriculture, we can get way in the weeds with jargon. So knowing who your folks are can help you decide where you can go with that language. Understanding what age they are, what their interest, that will help you understand their interest or what kind of communication they might prefer. The same, this is psychographics, so a little bit about what their affiliations might be with politics and religion and whether or not they understand agriculture related messages. So that just helps you sort of understand who you're speaking to. But how do you know where they are? So this is some data from Pew, and I know that this is very, very dense. This is freely available online, so you can look at it a little bit closer, but it's really interesting in that you can go through, you know, percentage of US adults who are on these different platforms like YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Twitter, WhatsApp, Reddit. Can you sell on all of those? No, but you can sell on a lot of them. And again, we don't even talk about selling on Instagram. That's a whole different talk in and of itself. But you can understand how many men and women are on the different platforms. So if you're trying to target a specific audience, you might want to consider going into a different platform to access an audience that you might not already access. Age groups, income level, education level, and whether they're urban, suburban, or rural, because those audience profiles are very different on how they like to use some of these social media platforms. So if you're considering maybe selling directly on one of those platforms, you might look and see if your audience is in that situation. So here's some more data from Pew that talks about people who are shopping in this e-commerce situation. Now, this data is from 2015, so it's definitely pre-pandemic. But at that time, we're still looking at a lot of people, 8 in 10 Americans being online shoppers, and 15% buy online on a weekly basis. I don't know about you guys, but online shopping lately, the shipping delays have been pretty striking. And I think it's because, you know, more people are buying online. And so plus, you know, people are humans and they need to manage their employees as well and keep them safe and healthy. And so we're having lots of different challenges, but more and more people are buying online. And before they do that, you know, half of the people regularly check online reviews before they make a purchase. I know we check reviews quite a lot. And I'm guilty of not providing my own reviews, but I read what other people say, and I think that's really accurate. So not only do you need to provide a good quality service, you also need to inspire people to write good reviews for your products and your services so that others will find you and have confidence in what you're offering and doing business with you. So they kind of go hand in hand. Yes, you need to get your website up on a platform and get going, but you also need to make sure that you're keeping people happy. So, okay, a little bit, I guess some things were highlighted. I didn't realize that. All right, so let's talk about some platforms because it can get overwhelming. And again, I'm not going to cover absolutely everything out there. I'm covering the big ones, and we're going to go through platforms and payment systems, and sometimes they overlap, but not always. We'll go through all of those. So when you're thinking about this, some things that you need to consider are whether you already have a current platform, you already are invested in a certain website, or whether you are starting from scratch and you can pick and choose, or whether you're not super invested and you can make a switch. So thinking through what matches your situation, then you need to compare your needs with what each platform can do, and then what pieces are missing that you might need to add from someplace else. So if you already have an existing website, a lot of websites, I mean, we always encourage you to have even a static website that just says, hey, my business exists. Here is where it is. Here's our hours. We are here. Even if you don't have anything else integrated into it and it's really basic, that's still really beneficial because people can find you. But if you have a little bit more sophisticated platform, you might be on something like WordPress or Wix or Weebly, and they actually have plugins that you can go ahead and integrate. So if you're already invested in a platform for your small business and you want to add e-commerce, that might be an easy direction to go. So you just find those additions and you use what's available for the platform you've already chosen. Otherwise, you do have to do some rebuilding if you're going to completely invest in another platform. So it just depends on how much you've already done. So on WordPress, there are some easy plugins, WooCommerce, Authorize.net, those all integrate really easily. Wix has their own proprietary platform called Wix Stores, and then Amazon and Shopify are other really e-commerce central websites. So some things you need to think about as you're running your pros and cons list of these different platforms. You need to think about the cost of website hosting plus the additional cost of payment processing. So these are all going to add or take away from your bottom line. And so you need to consider what they're all offering you, because on the front side, they're going to say, oh, everything's free, but there's always some fees on the back side, and you need to know what those are. Some of them offer different inventory management options and different customer payment options. And you certainly need to make sure that your customers' information is secure. So most of these websites, if they're offering to manage payment processing and they're a big profile company, that is a high priority for them. So I think that's something you need to consider. If you want to go with a smaller platform that you may never have heard of before, you may run into problems with security. So we'll go over some of those things. So we'll start with WordPress. WordPress, I think it started out as a blog platform and has really grown. So it's It's kind of a do-it-all website. You can find everything you need. You would be surprised how many websites are built on WordPress with different templates. They have tons and tons of tools, tons of plugins. It can be a little bit overwhelming at times, and they have massive amounts of integration. But it was not established as an e-commerce website. So that's not its core function. Its core function is more overall website, overall communicating what you need to about your area. But what they do have integrated, they can manage recurring payments. So if there's a service that you want to charge on a regular basis for, and you don't have to go in and invoice regularly or manually tell it to charge people, that is a nice feature that it can have. So one thing to know about WordPress, it can be very simple or it can be very complex, but it can grow with you. So if you want a website that is your home base where you want everybody to go, and it has all the pieces that you need and you can just use them when you're ready for them, WordPress is a good platform for that. Weebly. So back in the day as website, none of us are coders, right? So one of my functions on our team is it has to be simple enough for me as a horticulturist who works with plants to be able to plug and play and go, and it's got to be easy. There can't be any of this going in and writing code or fixing things like that. I'm happy to copy and paste and embed code from YouTube. I can do that, but otherwise it's got to be simple. And Weebly was the first website platform that I started with. I still have some websites on Weebly, and they have really grown their capacity. So they're similar to WordPress in that they were kind of started as a blog type platform that added these e-commerce plugins. So that includes Square, Stripe, or PayPal. They talk about having an automatic tax collector. So if that's something that you need to be considerate of, a platform that gives you that flexibility is important. This one has shipping and inventory plugins. So I think if you're going to be shipping a product, that any tools that you can find that can help you manage that without manually going in and saying, well, let me figure this out for every single order that you get, is going to be really critical to making it work well for you. They talk about offering coupons and gift cards. That's not something that's offered on every platform. For example, it's not mentioned on WordPress's site. They probably have a plugin for it, but it is something that they talked about on this one. They can help you curate customer reviews. And then they had these interesting piece where they talked about the ability to search your products and have badges. So if you've ever been shopping and that you can see like a little ribbon that comes over the main picture and it'll say it's on sale or it's sold out or something like that, it's nice to have the functionality to communicate that easily on your website without you having to go change all those things. And it makes you look so professional without having to know how to do all those things. So that's a nice feature. Wix is very similar to Weebly from my understanding, in terms of plug and play. So both of these are they have these little modules that you just drag and drop. And you have to know very little about how to make things look fancy. Like it does it pretty easily for you. Most of these websites do that. But they have their own proprietary e-commerce plugin called Wix Stores. So it's all pretty much tied up in Wix. You can't really try to use other tools. It's really just all one platform. But if making it simple for you is helpful, then that is good to know. They offer inventory management, coupons, and discounts. You can set some shipping and tax rules. It has less automation than some, but they do offer those tools. And again, their website claims that their payments are commission free, but I'm sure they have fees somewhere, and you just have to dig into the platform to decide if that's what you want to do. Now, Square is the first one that sort of rolls over. It's both a platform for your e-commerce store and a payment service, and they can be separate or they can be together. Now, on Square, it was developed primarily as an e-commerce site. So they really function mostly to set up as a store. They accept all the major credit cards including Apple Pay, Google Pay, and their in-house payment processing. So they'll send you a device you can plug into your iPad or your phone to swipe cards if you're in person. So that's a nice function, but they also have a lot more ability, as you'll see later, to do some of the touchless pieces, which is really nice. So this is a system that really integrates nicely with the brick and mortar point of sale systems. So I think a lot of problems people have is that their online presence is so different from what they have going on in store that they're two separate enterprises, essentially. So with Square, you can have them integrated a little bit more with what you already have going on. One thing I liked about their website is that they're already touting new features to facilitate local delivery and curbside pickup. So in this age of pandemic, when we need to be offering those services and may not know how, having your e-commerce platform help you facilitate that is a huge bonus for doing that well. So I like that they mentioned that. Shopify is another one that's primarily an e-commerce tool. And this one, you can do a bulk import of your inventory if you want to. I think we'll talk about this a little bit later, but my opinion is that if you're just starting with an e-commerce site and it's primarily in this sort of pandemic situation, you don't need every one of the products that you sell on your website on day one. You need a handful. In the case of garden centers, I was participating in a webinar last month with a garden center operator in Athens, Georgia, and he talked about how in the future they won't list. Now in horticulture, we have tons and tons of different cultivars of plants, which are cultivated varieties. So you might have one petunia, but there's 40 different cultivars of it. And his point was that we'll have 5, and we'll say there's red and white and orange, so you'll simplify your offering so that people can still get what they need, but they might not have all of the level of detail that they might like if it's primarily a local business type pickup situation. This is what we have. It's not everything because we can't keep the inventory updated as people buy it. But if you're more of a, if you have the ability to do a bulk import, Shopify can help you with that. They also talk about customer relationship management tools. And this was really cool. They have a marketplace where you can hire somebody to help you set up your website. So I think that's an asset that I didn't see on any of the other platforms, is that you can hire somebody to help you get it done. So if you have a lot, you feel overwhelmed, it's not a thing you want to spend time on, you can hire a freelancer or an agency to work with you to do it, and then they can help you through that process. So that's a nice feature for Shopify. Amazon. We all have feelings about Amazon, right? Love it or hate it, or a mixture of both. It can kind of do all the things, and it has a high profile. So people are seeing it and they know to go there to look for things. But if you're going to be a seller, they have a lot of rules. You're not able to advertise that for your business within the packaging that you send to the person. So you just kind of have to hope that they might make the leap of faith and thought process to go to your proprietary website to buy your product, if they can figure that out. Otherwise, there's a lot of rules with Amazon. I'm not saying it's bad, and it depends on what you're selling. They do sell live goods now. We've done some research on this, but mostly they're hard goods kind of business. And they make money off of stocking fees. So they have these gigantic warehouses. You ship them your product and pay them the privilege fee for picking and shipping it for you. So that's one of the ways that they make money. So they're very visible, but they have a lot of, you need to follow best practices to make sure you have a really good entry on their website. It's easy to use, it's easy to follow the steps and to do, but there is still best practices to make sure that your product page is quality. All right, so let's talk a little bit about payment tools. WooCommerce. This is one that is completely integrated with WordPress. It has a lot of plugins within it. So you can add in other payment tools, shipping, tax calculation, Google Ads, MailChimp for your e-newsletter, and Facebook. So here's where we think about where your platform is. If your audience is only on Facebook, you can sell only on Facebook. If you don't want to set up all of this, you can do it, and you have an email list, you can do it via email. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But if you want to have a more integrated experience, WooCommerce is a very popular way for doing all of those plugins. Authorize.net, this is a very trusted authority. It's not as user-friendly as some of the other websites, I would say. We actually used it for a while when we thought we were going to be setting up some online platforms, and I cannot tell you how difficult it was to close our account. It was very challenging. It took me a long time, and it was tricky. And the backside of it was very word dense, and a lot of accounting pieces, which again, depending on what you're trying to do, that might be a benefit or not. But for what we were trying to do, it was the language level was really high, and the accounting, it was very accounting based. So they do accept all kinds of payments, including e-checks, which is unique and different. So if that's something that you need to consider, they are a very strong platform. They've got fraud prevention. They can help you with invoicing. It's very powerful, but it's kind of tricky. It's not as plug and play as some of the other things. So Square, again, we're back to, this is one that was a platform and is also a payment tool. So you can use Square as a payment tool and not use it as a platform, if that makes sense. So this is good for stores with online and offline sales, medium to large businesses. You know, it depends on what you're trying to do. You can instantly accept payment. All of these are kind of the same. They have these integrated tools. The big difference is the fees are roughly the same. The big difference is how quickly you get your money. So for Square, you're going to get funds within 1 to 2 business days. But it's just a very nice platform that integrates well, and they give you all the little tools that you need to make it work. The other piece that I like about them that are touch free, they offer the tap. So if you've got that on your phone, you can do that. You can integrate online payments. That's remote friendly, and it's going to help with touchless transactions and e-commerce payments, and not interacting with people on that, like having to do the touch pieces. You can also key it in on your phone. So they offer the app platforms. You can do invoicing, and you can do appointments. So appointments is something that has come up since the pandemic started in garden center businesses, where you can offer the opportunity for people to come in and set a time, and they can have their own shopping period where they can feel safe in your store. Or it might also work if you're providing a service and you're going to go to their house and you need to make sure that you have a time agreed to make that happen. So this has some nice functionality. And of course, the traditional sort of in-person is the swipe or dip card piece that they'll help you with. Now, Stripe is somewhat similar. They will also send you a little device to have people swipe their cards. But the difference on this one is that funds are deposited after a week. So you have to wait a little bit longer for Stripe. It's very powerful. Again, it reminded me of Authorize.net because it had a lot of really powerful invoicing and accounting features, but it was very word dense and less user-friendly, I thought, on the back end. And it really just depends on what you want to achieve. So this is some of the things that they offer for covering payment needs. They accept all sorts of information. So all of this accounting stuff, they can help you manage that, but that might be more than you need. So it's there if you need it. If you don't, that's fine too. PayPal. This is something that most people are fairly familiar with in terms of the ability to access it and pay. It's integrated into a lot of platforms as far as, do you want to put your credit card in, or you just want to go to PayPal and process it? The fees are about the same. On this one with PayPal, funds are available immediately. So they are immediately put into your account. So if you're worried about cash flow and 1 to 2 days isn't enough, PayPal might work for you because it's immediate, whereas Stripe takes a week. So depending on whether or not that's important for you, that's something to consider. The other payment tool are these peer-to-peer payments, and you probably have heard of Venmo. It's integrated with Facebook and some of the other social media tools for immediately payment from bank account to bank account. I have not used Venmo. I've used Cash because my sister-in-law uses Cash, and she buys clothes for my kids at her consignment sale and just sends me the bill on Cash. And I promise you, as weird as this website platform looks, it works very, very smoothly. It's simple. You don't have to think about it, and it just works. I feel like Venmo is prettier and looks a little bit nicer than Cash, but they both work the same and they both function fine. So that's an option if you're looking at maybe something that's integrated into a social media platform. Now, this just changed within the last couple of weeks. It used to be called Facebook Store, and they're changing it to Facebook Shop. So Facebook is really trying to, they don't want you to go to any other website. They want you to do everything on their platform. And so they are really trying to enhance their shopping function on their website. So if you don't have a website, but you do have a Facebook page, you may want to consider just sticking with Facebook if that's where your stakeholder audience is, where your customers are, and you don't want to set up anything else, and you have a pretty simple list of things that you want to sell, or you want to do something like you only sell 5 products a week or something. There's a former colleague of mine left to start her floral business this spring, and she sells just a set number of floral designs per week. She came and saw me yesterday. I have to show you guys this. It's so pretty. Oh, you can't see. I'll have to turn it off. Anyway, I got flowers from her, and she only features a handful of products a week, and that's what's for sale. And she advertises that on Facebook and Instagram and other places. So she keeps it fairly simple, but she's still fairly small, and she hand delivers it. So it's nice to see a friend and talk when I get my flowers. So some things to learn. Your customers can message you to learn more about a product or to make an order. This is good if you don't have a website, or if you have an existing storefront like Shopify, Etsy, or Magneto is another platform. And you can also just use it to direct customers to your platform. So in the case of the flowers, she uses it to advertise and then direct people to her Square site in order to help them make payment and process all of those things. So with the shop tab, they have PayPal or Stripe integration. They have other platform integrations. You can actually go to another website to do the checkout. You can message to purchase. I mean, if that's not a bizarre way of selling things in this day and age, that you just send somebody a message and say, I want that, and then they process it, there's a way to do everything. And then they have this peer-to-peer payment integration within Messenger of all things. So if you just want to stick with Facebook, you can do e-commerce on Facebook. Email. So email ordering, it works. If you have a small customer base, especially some of these smaller community Main Street groups, and you just want to show them what you have, you can curate your email list. There's lots of good email platforms that you can use to really make your content look high quality, or you can use something really simple. So it's basically a modern day catalog. The customers reach out to you directly. There's online payment. You can do invoicing. It's a little bit more labor intensive, so it's going to take you a little bit more time, but there's going to be fewer fees, so it's going to cost you less. So you may not have your customer base expand like crazy because they're not seeing it on social media, but it is a viable way to get people products from your store. And you can do that just with an e-newsletter if that's the way that you want to move forward. So it really takes sort of a lot of soul searching and thinking through how you want to run the e-commerce side of your business. So this is, again, the e-commerce essentials talk. You can be really simple, or you can be really complicated. Or you can build into something that's complicated, but it certainly doesn't have to be. All right. So thinking through some customer concerns. What do they want? And think about your experience as a customer yourself and what you expect from people who are selling you products and from online platforms. So for current business practices for the pandemic, you want to make sure that you are communicating clearly, not only that you recognize and are following CDC guidelines to keep people safe, but you're communicating what that is so that customers will feel safe coming into your store. I mentioned earlier the webinar I participated in with the garden center operator, and they had done everything possible to follow all of the guidelines, to the point where they actually had an employee who had a family member diagnosed with COVID, and they sent her home immediately, took her cash drawer out, put it in a bag, and sealed it for 5 days before they opened it again to process what was in there. So they were super, doing all the right things. But this was before the face mask guidelines came along, and they had a customer come in, and the checkout person did not have a face mask on, and she was very upset, irate, and she went straight to Facebook and wrote them a scathing review. And they had the opportunity to address that conflict and try to make things right, but you're always going to have people on both sides of the line with extra safety precautions and those who choose not to follow the safety precautions. And you also need to protect your employees. So the best way you can do that, even if you can't control other people, but you can control what you are doing and what you are communicating about your business to follow the guidelines. So one of the things, I don't know in your communities what you have available for signage, but if you wanted to, I know that the K-State Research and Extension Bookstore and Mail Center, they have an incredible printing capacity, and they've been advertising that they have all this signage available. So if you want some signage, you can get it through K-State Research and Extension for your business that will help with social distancing, hand washing, guidance, just to communicate what you're doing. And you need to do that in the store, and you need to do it in your online communications as well. So people know what you're doing, when you're open, and how they can best do business with you. Because I think by and large, most people want to help the small businesses in our communities stay alive. And you need to tell them how to do that, how to help them, or how they can help you, no matter what that looks like. And I know that at the last Friday e-call, you all were sharing some really great ideas that happened in your communities. And that only happens when you communicate and tell people what you need. So some more guidelines, having hand washing stations, clear dividers between staff and customers, disinfecting. You want to do it right, but you also want to make sure that it's seen. So make sure they see you doing it, and check to make sure when those guidelines change. And I know that's when things are crazy in your business, you might not know, but somebody will let you know pretty quickly if there's a change to that, and you know where to go to get that information. So responding to customers. In a lot of these situations, when we're setting up e-commerce, it's new for everybody. It's new for you as a business owner. It's new for the customer trying to make an order. And I think the most critical piece is to respond to them as quickly as possible. Even if you can't say, give them all the information they need, acknowledge that you received it, that you exist, you heard them, and it might take you a minute to get back to them with detailed information, but you received it and you will get back to them. So as quickly as possible, got it, more information soon. So you might want to have some standard language drafted for responding to those people. I know that with curbside pickup with garden centers, it was insane. And where they might have not done any curbside pickup before, suddenly they had to figure it out. And sometimes they could deliver within a day or two. Sometimes it was the next week. And this is true with grocery store pickup too. So if you're going to go and pick a time slot, but your time slot isn't for 4 days and you really need milk and bread right now, you might make a decision to go into the store. So they need to know how long it is before they're going to get their product, and so they can gauge how important that is to them. So when you're responding to them about pickup, tell them when they can expect the order to be ready. Let them know how to let you know they've arrived for pickup. So I think everything you can do to provide guidance to them. So I feel this way. I'm like, how are they going to know I'm there? I ordered pickup from McAllister's here in town one day not early on, it was mid on, I promise. And they had curbside pickup. There weren't any signs. I didn't know which parking spot I was supposed to be in. I sat there for probably 20 minutes, and then I moved my car closer to where the pickup would be while people were walking in the store. And it was a long time before they noticed me. And that was frustrating because I didn't know if I needed to call, if I needed to flash my lights. What do I need to do beyond just pulling up into a parking spot, because they didn't see me for a long time. So you need to make sure that those details are prominent when they order and when you send them the confirmation so they know what to do next. Do they need to call the store when they get there to say, hey, I'm here? Do they need to say, this is the type of vehicle that I drive and the color? Do you need to turn on your hazard light so they know that you're a curbside pickup order? Or, is there a general pickup area? So some of the restaurants have racks, so you can just go in and pick your product up and you don't have to talk to them at all. It's just right there. So depending on what kind of product you have, depends on how you are going to get that to other people without touching it. So make sure that you tell them how they're going to keep you safe. I love this example from Family Tree Nursery in Kansas City, where they talk about all the things they're offering. So they show that they're being safe with a mask. And if you can see the post, it says, behind every mask is a smile that's happy to help from 6 feet away. So they're communicating that they're social distancing and they're wearing masks, but they're happy and they want to help you. They've made 45-minute in-store shopping appointments available. You can also call in orders for curbside pickup, and you can do online ordering at one of their stores. So they were very positive and encouraging and informational and instructional for how to get their product. So I thought that was a really good example of communication. So again, responding to customers when they've ordered online, tell them when they can expect the order to be shipped. If you're doing a shipping situation, keep them informed before and after. Let them know when it's out of your hands and out the door, and give them a tracking number if you can do that. Let them know what shipping times and costs are up front. Although I will say right now, I think all of that is up in the air. Nothing has been working super well in terms of quickly. So as in normal times, as best of an estimate as you can give them. And especially if you're shipping them a perishable product, you probably have really stricter standards for how quickly it needs to arrive. Or, if it's a perishable product, you may say, I don't ship on Thursdays and Fridays. It cannot sit in a shipping area over Saturday and Sunday. I will ship your order on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday so that it arrives before there's a perish issue. So make sure you tell them that. So if they make an order on Friday, they're like, all right, I know you're not going to ship it until Monday, but you will ship it on Monday. And that gives them confidence to know that you care about them and keeping the product safe. So make sure you communicate about employee procedures, include information about care and about your business, and then, put that plug in, ask them to go write you a quality review, and then give them an example. So, one last note, I wanted to add this. So especially for our rural businesses, our smaller businesses, if you are considering offering home delivery, so this was really big in the very beginning. I know for garden centers, there was even, in addition to curbside pickup, they were offering driveway delivery. So we will drive to your neighborhood and put it in your driveway, and that's the only contact we have. And those companies that offered that, they ended up having groups that had Nextdoor or homeowners association Facebook groups. They got together and said, hey, we're going to get a delivery from such and such business. Who wants in? So that you can hopefully go to an entire community or area of town with a full truck and deliver to the houses or to the driveway. So if you can do several orders at once, that will help you save, because you really have to consider the capacity of your staff time and your equipment. You might not have people who can go around and do those deliveries. Or maybe you can, depending on what the level of pandemic situation is, you might be able to get volunteers. If you're providing something that's essential like food, there are now platforms to help get that there. delivery services, or if it's really critical and you need help, call for volunteers to help you get that. One way to make this make sense is maybe to have a minimum order or have a small delivery fee to help make up for the time, because you might have to hire an extra employee to drive a truck to get plants around to people, or products. Sorry, my world is plants. So think through some of those options. Again, this is more just general guidelines for product attributes. These are outlined on the website as well, but you as a customer think about these things too. What is the return policy, money back guarantee? How many pictures do you have to show me the product in different situations? How much is it going to cost to ship it? Are there product options? What's the price? On-time delivery, quick shipping, product quality, customer reviews, service after the sale, awareness of online sales in the specific product area, suggested care, information about after sale, how secure the site is, loyalty program, site commitment, trust, and then, you know, what they intend to purchase or their behavior change, and their knowledge of the product as well. So those are just some general things. As you dig deeper into e-commerce, those are some things you can really do to improve your online presence that you don't necessarily have to do all of them right out the gate. So again, I mentioned earlier, when you're putting products in, focus on just a few products and take them to the next level. So make sure there's plenty of photos, lots of different angles, different situations, long, useful descriptions of how they can use them. And if you have time, you can add some instructional videos. And we have some guidelines on our YouTube channel about how to make some simple YouTube or some simple instructional videos about your products. So if you want some help with that, we've got some resources for that. Shopping experience. Boy, this is labor intensive, but you can offer video shopping. So if you want to offer to get somebody on FaceTime, Zoom, on their phone and walk through the store. Hikaru was telling us about a grocery store in Minnesota that offered that service because they were small, in a small rural community, and they needed to be able to show people on the shelf, and they didn't have the capacity to do substitutes with the platform that they had. So they literally FaceTimed their customers around the store to show them, you know, well, we don't have oranges in this package. Is this package okay for you? So it's much more labor intensive, but it's an option if you need it to help people buy your products and get the things that they need. You can also do appointments. There's several different platforms for this. Sign Up Genius is pretty common. Microsoft Bookings was a new one to me. I saw that that's what Family Tree Nursery was using for their appointment bookings. So a new to me platform. But you can also do something like Google Forms, and they have an add-on scheduler function as well. So use one of those if you maybe want to do an appointment situation and you don't have an entire platform like Dillon's and Walmart. So if this still feels overwhelming, think about who can help. I know I was chatting with Heather about Beloit before we started, and they've got photographers. Can you engage photographers in your community to help come and get photos? Can you get somebody who enjoys writing to write descriptions? Can you get a teenager who has nothing to do this summer to upload content to the sales platform? Who can you get in your community who wants to help you be successful and can do a piece of the puzzle without having to do all of it? I know with Family Tree Nursery, they actually redirected some of their current employees because, as you can imagine, with plants, you've got all sorts of people running around watering, taking care of things, taking care of customers. And suddenly when there's no customers, you want to keep those people employed, but you might actually be able to employ them. Hey, I need you to take photos of the products. I need you to write a description. I need you to get it on the website. Like, I know everybody was scrambling, but that was a way to continue using their current employees in a different way. They might have to learn a new skill, but we're all learning new skills in this environment. So you can always go back and tweak it later, but either use existing people or find out if you can partner with a business in your community, or maybe get some volunteers to help with some of those tasks. All right. You guys have to love that photo. I had to use it. When you're marketing, think about communicating the sights, the sounds, the smells of your retail establishment. People miss that. Tell them about what's baking. Tell them about the plants that smell good. Even if they can come in, maybe it will entice them to come in. If they can't, they might just enjoy being reminded that those things are still happening in the world, and they'll get to see them again. Highlight any user-generated content of your products in use, and really try to think about how what you're selling can benefit people who are homebound and solve needs for them. I know many people have gone back to life as somewhat normal because we need to, but here at Kansas State University, with K-State Research and Extension, we are not doing face-to-face programming until after July 4th. And on the main campus, we're not allowed to go back to campus until August. So I'm at home. I have my son will be 10 in a week or so, and my daughter is 5, and she went to the on-campus childcare facility, and it's not open. So we're all home, and I'm shocked that none of them have walked in. So we're winning this morning. But I'm homebound. And this week, my 5-year-old needs a nap bad. And I threw her in the car and just took a drive. And I was shocked at how rejuvenating it was for me just to see some green, because I'm homebound. I sit at my desk all day. We're really busy. It's been a really busy season. It's been fun to do a lot of these trainings online. But, I have some horticultural needs that need to be met. So think about what your product can do for people like me who may be stuck here. And it's not just your traditional people. It's people like me with young families and kids that I'm stuck at home too. So everybody needs different things. All right, just a little bit about what makes a good review. Be detailed, specific, and honest. Call out stellar customer service, include constructive improvements, and feature images. So Laurie actually shared something that she put on her Facebook page for Our Family Farms, which is they sell pork products here in Kansas, and they were a participant in our Insight Summit and our New Media Marketing Boot Camp. And so we're really proud of them. And so she's in Florida now, right? And it turns out they have plenty of cattle in their state, but they don't do any processing in their state. So there was no meat in her grocery store in Florida. She ordered meat from Our Family Farms in Kansas to get it in Florida because she needed something to feed her family. And it was great. And so she wrote them a very specific recommendation, provided pictures of what they cooked, and sent another one later. And then Our Family Farms was really good about thanking her, using her names, and making it a unique thank you. So you can always ask your customers to write you a review, give them an example, be specific, and make sure you engage with them after the sale and respond to what they write for you. So this was really great. You were able to see that conversation online. All right. One last note. I want you to remember, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Get something up there, get started. Don't go out of business. Find a way to communicate what you're selling so that people can purchase it from you because they want to. They just need to know how, and they need that to be set up for them. So keep working at building that e-commerce presence over time. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to all be on there on day one. But there's always ways to grow and improve and engage other people with you in that process. So just and think about the fact that if you're able to adapt, the businesses that can adapt to this new economy, this new normal, are more likely to thrive. And we want you to thrive. We want your businesses to stay functioning and thriving, and for people to be spending money with you. So if there's anything that we can do to help you with that, there's lots of folks like me that can walk you through, some of those more detailed decisions. So work with people locally, your economic developers that can help you decide what works and what makes sense for your particular business. So just a little bit more. I mentioned our website, our learning resource is ruralengagement.org. And then Touchless Transactions has all of our resources, all of the links, the blog posts. We did a webinar that we recorded, and I think there's a podcast episode, and I think Laurie did a Facebook Live yesterday. So we're trying to post all of that in one place so it's easy to find and you don't have to madly take notes. So there's our Facebook, and we're just getting started on YouTube, but we plan to have lots of really good content to help you with that. And there's all of our home institutions. And with that, I have reached the end. There's my email address at K-State, and I'm happy to help you through some things. And Nancy has tons of great resources as well. So how did I do on time?
Cheryl, that
I took a long time, I'm sorry.
And I don't think anybody will mind staying a few minutes, but you're all welcome to leave. But that was fantastic. The recording will be online at least Monday, but usually it's really quickly. Number one, Cheryl, you'll share your slides with me so I can put them on the website with the video.
Okay.
That's a question.
Well, we really would prefer people go to the Touchless Transactions part of our website to get those resources.
Okay.
But I can share some things with you.
Okay, well that would be fine.
And all the links are in the blog post already.
Okay, great. Okay. And then, the other questions that we've seen is, has anyone had any experience with the online store service available to members of the From the Land of Kansas Marketing Services from K-State?
I would love for anybody to turn open their mic and their video to answer that. I have not had experience with the From the Land of Kansas e-commerce platform through the Kansas Department of Ag. Anybody?
Anybody? No?
Oh, Kim.
Yes, I'm sorry. I just signed up, so I don't actually have direct experience yet, but I did talk to Janelle recently. And
Janelle's great.
Yes. But I'm a little worried. For those of you who, well, most of you probably don't know, we sell gourmet chocolate. So that's really complicated to ship in the summer, and so our shipping costs are abnormally high. So we did go ahead and sign up. I don't know if it's really going to work or not, but I know they are trying to get some additional feedback from everybody because we all have such different products, and it's hard to kind of have a uniform shipping policy. So you might pass that along if you know of anybody who has some feedback for them right now.
Have you gotten on the Shop Kansas Facebook page?
Yes.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah. Our product? No, yeah. Yeah. Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Okay. You talk about the importance of getting reviews, and that's something that I have been very unsuccessful at forever. And I didn't know if anybody had any suggestions on best practices that work, whether it be like the automated email afterwards, bag stuffers, box stuffers. You know, what does anybody have a best practice that seemed to bring or facilitate the most reviews?
We have looked at that a little bit, but I don't think we've pulled together any specific guidance on tools like that, but I will make a note of it and see if we can look that up. I did a presentation last night on conflict management during COVID, and that's something we also haven't written a blog post about, but we had some resources. So I'll put it on the list, and I don't know if there's any way to, we've talked about incentivizing people. So if they write a review, maybe they get a small discount or a coupon or something like that. But it just, there's lots of different ways to do that. You're right. On the receipts, yeah. And I know I'm the worst. I'm terrible at writing reviews, but I read them.
I think that part of ours, you were talking about demographics earlier. I do think that our key demographic is probably not the most comfortable review writers. But I know the importance of increased reviews to kick up our online presence, and we just aren't getting it. So I don't know. I was just looking for ideas. Thanks.
Okay, I think that's a good point. A lot of our folks are not comfortable writing reviews. So how do we help them be more comfortable with that?
Kim, this is Donna in Norton, and I have written a lot of reviews. Maybe it's just because I'm in the chamber industry and I know how important they are, but easiest way for me to do is I get that follow-up email. Please write us a review. It's easy for me to click on there. Just go right over there, write a quick review, and the example's usually right there. I read that through first, and then it's done and great, and I move on, and I think that works very successfully from somebody on my standpoint as a consumer.
Good input, Donna. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thanks.
Also, this is Chucky Hessong. I find that if you can at least start with having your friends and family, right? I mean, they can give you a legitimate review. You know, they eat it too. So I think having your friends and family write a solid review. I mean, maybe preferably those who don't have the same last name, if that's evident on your website. But having your friends and family write you one certainly could be helpful and help you start building.
Good idea. Hi, Chucky.
Good idea.
Hi, Cheryl.
This week on Save Your, I guess it was Small Biz Survival, and I shared it on the Kansas Pride website. Becky McCrae shared how to get your Alexa or Siri device to email the local business asking them to order something, which I thought was really interesting, and I'll include that link with the email this time.
Isn't it thrilling when things like that actually work?
Yes. Yes. And the thing that's been great I've appreciated about yours, Cheryl, is I am a person that tends to get overwhelmed. And so Cheryl and I were talking before you all joined us about all the things we've done wrong as we've learned to do these things. And, you know, the best experience is a great teacher. And sometimes you will succeed, but other times you will learn. And so just start and learn. And you've heard Cheryl say a number of things that they had to back out of because they learned that they weren't the most successful for them. But what she's done for you today is to share a lot of those decision points so that you don't have to check every one of them. And I think that's fantastic.
Thanks, Nancy.
Great.
Well, if there aren't any other questions for me, you know how to get a hold of me. My office phone forwards to my cell phone because I'm gonna be right here for some time. So feel free to reach out if you need some help. Fantastic.
Well, thank you all. And you will be getting a follow-up email from me when the recording is shared with few links. There will be no call on July the 3rd. Our next call is in August, the first Friday of August, with Deb Brown from Savior.town. And her topic is going to be Grow Your Own Entrepreneurs, Making Entrepreneurship Self-Sustaining. And then I always like to share with a little thought for the day. From Zig Ziglar today, our thought for today is go as far as you can see. When you get there, you can see farther. So thanks everybody for sharing with me, sharing with all of us, and helping all of us to move forward. Have a great Kansas day.